gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for March 17th, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Starfield is the new drug wars for your TI-83. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Jesse Norris from XboxEra. Jesse, thank you so much for joining me again. I really appreciate it. We got some busy folks traveling back and forth from places, and you filling in really helps me out. I appreciate it, man.
I'm your backup Huckleberry.
That's what I need. I need a backup Huckleberry, and here it is.
Well, I'm here setting my own schedule, so I'm just available.
Well, that's fantastic for me. That's what's most important. As long as things are good for me, that's all I need to know.
I agree.
How's your week been? How are things going for you?
Pretty good. I'm kind of in between reviews. I was helping our Resident Evil 4 Remake review went live earlier, gave it a 9. Everyone seems to be giving it a 9. It's very good. I've been tempted. I've had access to that for like a week and a half, but I have not touched it because I'm waiting for the streaming embargo, which is right around launch. So,
right. Did
you see the embargoes?
No,
the notes they had.
I didn't take a look at it. It seemed pretty elaborate.
Utterly ridiculous. You couldn't talk about things they talked about in their preview coverage.
I hate that. That's frustrating.
So I think the bigger sites just ignored it, and the smaller ones like us are like, okay, fine, but this is really weird. But it's very good.
Yes, it's. I mean, I know that we really wanted to be talking about the game a lot. I know Dan's been very excited about it. His review went up on giantbomb.com. Everybody, if you want, it's very good. We took a look at that yesterday. I was helping him edit a little bit, and he likes it a whole bunch. He's been playing it and then replaying it. Like, that's how much he's into it. So it's really living up to expectations. That's very cool. Well, actually, we'll get into the Resident Evil 4 Remake review roundup here today at the end of the show today. But in the meantime, before we get into the mess, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Microsoft's deal to buy Activision Blizzard, quote, can only be a good thing, one company says. This comes from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. And this is a long one, everybody, but I think, and I know we're over it, but I think I'm going to read most of this.
We were over it when nothing was happening. There's good, spicy stuff happening now. I'm back in. Exactly.
This is, and it's, I think this to me, this feels like a major exclamation point on where we're at. And it answers a lot of the questions I think people have. Let's just get into it and then we'll discuss it. I think I know why most of these companies are saying what they're saying, and we'll discuss that as well. So the UK's Competition and Markets Authority has released a series of mostly anonymous statements from gaming companies, and they all provisionally agree that Microsoft's proposed deal to buy Activision Blizzard would not be a bad thing for the overall video game industry. And again, I'm going to read most of this, so everyone just go follow Eddie McCoo on Twitter and go check out the GameSpot story. The CMA uploaded documents from 6 different market participants who shared their thoughts on the buyout. Only one company, 4J, went on the record and kept its name public. The other 5 submitted their opinions anonymously. 4J is an independent studio, but it is financially involved with Microsoft as it developed a number of Xbox games and Minecraft's console editions. 4J boss Chris Vanderkool said Microsoft has never pressured 4J to, quote, favor Microsoft's own format. Indeed, and this is a quote, indeed, we were actively encouraged by Microsoft to develop unique content such as the Mario Mashup Pack for Nintendo formats. Microsoft has also brought a significant stability and rigor to our contractual and commercial relationships and have been both fair and professional in all our dealings with them. Vanderkool went on to say that it was inevitable that a company like Microsoft would seek to expand its business over time, like every company tries to do. Back to the quote, we do not see the proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard as anything other than a natural evolution of the industry, and it does not give us any cause for concern for our own future opportunities. A statement from, quote, market participant B, meanwhile, states, we do not believe that any title can be considered a quote, must-have in the interactive entertainment market. As such, this company said Microsoft proposed deal to buy Activision Blizzard will not negatively impact consumers. Market participant C, meanwhile, is the CEO of an independent game studio that says they worked with, quote, top game publishers, including Microsoft, Sony, and Activision. This unnamed executive said Microsoft is trustworthy, and that consolidation toward cloud-based platforms is simply an inevitability. To build a stronger catalog, other platforms also aspire to acquire publishers and developers. Such consolidation is a natural evolution of the business and does not necessarily constitute SLCs. This person went on to say that competition from China is a real concern and asked the CMA to consider if the UK consumers would be better served if Tencent swooped in to buy Activision Blizzard. Chinese publishers in our industry benefit from an unfair advantage due to the fact that the China market is closed to Western companies through various regulations, while Chinese companies can freely access the Western markets. Letting Microsoft and Activision consolidate their business in light of this fast-growing competition would not be against the interest of UK consumers. Then, meanwhile, market participant D said they are a developer and publisher of AAA games across all major consoles, and they acknowledge that it is difficult to predict the precise effects of Microsoft's proposed buyout of Activision Blizzard on the wider industry. However, they said if the deal goes through, it likely won't have a negative impact on the distribution of its games on Xbox and other consoles. There's a few other participants here, but most of it sounds like this. Jesse, I think the thing for me here is these companies have an interest in supporting this deal. That interest isn't necessarily like to getting good with Microsoft. It is they are afraid of an environment where the people who own these companies cannot make an exit by selling to a larger company. They want that to be a viable alternative for them when they get done like running their. It's what every business owner ends up wanting to do in the end, for the most part, is make a big exit. You build a company. And the idea is you could sell it, and you could sell it to hopefully a company that'll give you a lot of money for it. And if these companies see that these regulators are derailing that as an option here, that could be a little bit scary to them. So they're definitely incentivized here, but I think they're incentivized because that's the way the market was supposed to work. And while without any viable alternative for how these companies can sort of see their future going, they want that to continue to be a viable alternative, as opposed to, well, we can only sell to China because they're the only ones that aren't completely regulated all to hell. But I mean, other than that, like, what's your takeaway from this?
It feels exactly like that. It's pretty much the circle of business life where start something up. If it's successful, eventually you sell it. And if you just chop out the process of, well, this company wants to buy us, but now they can't because you've set a precedent in this, especially in the one market of the UK, where it seems pretty likely to go through in Europe. And most people seem to agree that there isn't much of a case or much merit for the FTC. The CMA is the one situation where you don't know. It could get held up for a long time. They might eventually get it through, but most companies aren't going to have Microsoft's resources to be able to fight it like this. And if you start making it a more daunting and less appealing option for actually just selling your company in the end, that is not what any of these places want to ever go through.
Yeah, and it sounds like for some of these market participants, some of these other companies, they really relish the idea of an even stronger Xbox, because they want something there to balance PlayStation, and they're like that. That's happening a little bit. I mean, I'll continue to read a little bit more because this is, I think, really illuminating. Another opinion was
who E is.
Yes, another opinion was submitted by market participant E, a multi-platform game distributor. This person said sales of its games on PlayStation platforms have grown stagnant due to bigger games getting more attention. Sony also gives preferential treatment to studios and publishers who are willing to spend, quote, lots of money on paid marketing, they said. And this is their quote: "This means that on PlayStation, it simply isn't a level playing field for every publisher and developer. It has meant that as the years have gone by, if you put a smaller title on PlayStation devices now, your title will rarely appear organically to PlayStation players. Instead, you are 100% reliant on players knowing about your game already and searching for it on the store. On Xbox, the opposite has come true, and that's for this unnamed company, thanks to Xbox's discovery tools and Xbox Game Pass. As a result, we found that despite Xbox having much smaller player numbers and console sales than PlayStation, our games sell just as well on Xbox since more players are finding our game there. We usually find that the revenue we make from new games is more on Xbox than PlayStation due to this fact. Again, despite Xbox being the smaller platform in many ways." Who do you think that is? Because I have some ideas. But
Mike Rose of No More Robots.
Yeah, that's what would have been my guess. So Mike Rose has a really strong relationship with Microsoft. Really likes Game Pass. Has said Game Pass is one of the reasons that his games do really well on Xbox, even beyond just getting that money straight up from Game Pass for things like Descenders, that downhill biking game. It also helps people discover the games, and now they're put in front of other people, and they get money from that as well because people are buying the games there as well. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. The last few things here. Market participant F said in its statement that arguments against Microsoft's deal to buy Activision Blizzard have been slightly exaggerated and put out of proportion by the competition, referring to Sony clearly. Blocking the same could potentially hinder real competition and more innovative consumer-friendly initiatives in the video game market, this person said. They added that Activision Blizzard joining Microsoft could help address Activision Blizzard's workplace and sexual harassment issues. Quote, while we do not want to point fingers at anyone's struggle to create and maintain a good culture for employees, as this is challenging for any company and always has been, we do see that a change in scenery with a new home at Microsoft might be good for some of our colleagues working in the studios on the various projects.
Yeah.
I mean, so for me, this is like, okay, all these companies are saying a lot of the things we've been saying here for a while. The regulators doing their jobs, trying to, and really feeling the pressure of not letting another WhatsApp happen, putting a lot of roadblocks in the way. And then as those roadblocks are there, they're getting the answers to the questions that they're posing. And these questions feel pretty satisfying, or these answers, feel pretty satisfying to me anyhow. I get if other people are still hesitant, but I think in the end, I think these developers are making a good point that, yeah, I mean, it's even if like, okay, yeah, sure, it's a consolidation, but also it's not like the status quo is very good for all of these various reasons. And a strong Xbox compared to PlayStation is maybe a welcome thing.
Yeah, people look at consolidation and always think bad, and I get that, especially when it's the type of thing where consolidation leads to people losing their jobs,
and the number is just big, $69 billion. It's such a big number. You do feel like we should stop and really, really look at every aspect of this.
Yeah, and that's what Phil was saying from the beginning. Like, this is insanely big. I've never been a part of something like this because it's never happened for us before. So yes, they should look at every aspect of it. The way Microsoft does it, where they pull you in under the Microsoft gaming umbrella and not under Xbox, hopefully leads to less job loss, though, on the tech sector. I mean, what Meta's doing, another 10,000 people, but they hired like insane. But it should, and you hold them to it if it doesn't, it should lead to less redundancy in people losing their jobs, because you still keep all those publishing and all these different areas, and you're not folding it all under one enormous tent. Instead, you've got, multiple tents for each publisher. It is huge. I get if people aren't fans of it. I know as someone who uses the Xbox platform primarily for reviews and stuff, getting access to more things through Game Pass is great, especially when the economy sucks and everyone's broke. I think that's one main reason a lot of people want to see it go through, is because, like, well, now I don't have to buy Diablo, or I don't have to buy their upcoming survival game, or I get COD for free every year because I already have this service. As long as there's been such a weird focus on COD from Sony, and I think we've seen a shift to it being more about future-proofing cloud availability on stuff. And Microsoft has very smartly just done more and more and more deals for that. Doesn't matter how big or how small you are, they're going to offer you 10 years of all of their games. And like, I think there was a report this morning on MLEX again, ITIS on Resetera said the things that they submitted to the EU were only about cloud. They didn't even submit anything about Sony. It's probably because Sony won't talk to them, so they can't say, like, hey, we'll do this deal.
Yeah, to that end, Charlie Intel says Microsoft has formally submitted a concessions package to the European Union regulators on their deal to acquire ABK in a big move to get their approval. The EU says they now need to analyze the package and will provide a final decision by May 22nd, 2023, or on that day, not by then. We have stood behind our promise to bring Call of Duty to more gamers on more devices by entering into agreements to bring the game to the Nintendo consoles and cloud gaming streaming services offered by NVIDIA, Boosteroid, and Ubitus. We are now backing up that promise with binding commitments to the European Commission, which will ensure that this deal benefits gamers into the future. I mean, cloud gaming has been the thing that I think the reason that the shift has been to cloud gaming is that's where a lot of these regulators said, this does look like a different market to us. And that is where a lot of their power comes from, is protecting distinct markets. And it's like, well, cloud gaming looks like a new market compared to what we've had. I think we all know it's not really, but it's fair enough. Like,
it could be.
It could be. Let's treat it that way. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Absolutely.
And Activision, Blizzard, they're not on any cloud right now, and they're enormous. So if you are the one company that can have Call of Duty on your cloud service, that is very big. You can have World of Warcraft on your cloud service, which would, that probably actually work okay. But man, it is crazy how big this deal is. It's not crazy how long it's taken. I think a lot of us were hopeful when nothing was really happening for a long time that it would be done soon. It does seem like they delayed their finding again to not go before the CMA. So I wonder if they just keep freaking bunny hopping each other and this ends up going on for like 5 years. It shouldn't. I think it'll be done, by that May time. We'll have a pretty clear idea. But
yeah. And it's, of course, the deal supposed to close by June. If that doesn't happen, they'll just renegotiate that particular point, move it down the road a little bit. But I mean,
if the FTC really fights it tooth and nail, I wouldn't be shocked if they went to ABK and renegotiated to remove FTC not suing from the requirements to close.
Yeah, it's and I think that once this EU domino falls, whichever way it goes, I think that'll probably. I think the FTC will probably be like, you know what, we'll just fall in line with this agreement. This is me just guessing. And then the CMA will say, I think will probably be like, well, we want a little bit more. And then Microsoft will be like, okay, yeah, sure. We'll make that happen. This deal probably, once again, feeling like it's going to go through. But we'll see. We'll see. It's got a little bit more time for really date.
It'll suck that he gets such a golden parachute, but it will be nice when Bobby Kotick is gone.
Yep. I mean, it's what other options are there? It's
they can actually unionize. So,
Right. And by that, you mean like Microsoft has said flat out and has proven that they won't fight, but they won't just not fight. They will straight up sign the agreements and say, we will sit down at the table with you when their teams unionize. And Activision has been union busting this entire time.
Tooth and nail.
Right. So it's like that kind of stuff is like, okay, it's one more thing pushing me towards like, yeah, I think this deal would probably be better for the people working on these games. They're
copying it really well. They are 100%. Microsoft's like, well, we're so big, we don't care. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
And Activision's like, okay, we really want to sell. We're going to look like the biggest shit heels imaginable. So that people will be like, please, God, get rid of that executive board.
They know what they're doing. And I think I totally get the slippery slope argument of, well, in 10 years, what if Microsoft decides it doesn't want to be doing this anymore and all these studios get closed down? Yeah, that could happen. That could happen. Of course it could. I don't necessarily think it will, but it really, really could. And
they have made it a pillar of Microsoft where it was never that before.
Yeah.
They were never a core pillar, which is like the thing they don't shut down very easily.
Right. But it's like, okay, worst case scenario, these things could completely fizzle out. Microsoft gets distracted. They got to make some major cost cuts and they close down studios. They've done it before. Okay, that could happen. I'm looking at the current Activision though, and they are already on that path and it's happening way faster. And it's like if Call of Duty if there's any issues with Call of Duty going forward, if it really does lose any of its prestige and its ability to sell, that publisher is beyond screwed. They have just no path forward. They have no idea what to do next. So it's like, again, I'm comparing the reality of the status quo to a potential outcome. And it's hard for me not to be like, okay, yeah, that could happen. But I think let's just kind of roll the dice there.
Imagine if all of Activision and Blizzard just starts working on Call of Duty and we have like 16 Call of Duty games like Ubisoft is doing with Assassin's Creed.
I mean, and definitely the trend for Activision Blizzard as well. They're moving in that direction.
They pulled all of Activision and, eventually they're just going to... King will be working on friggin' COD within a decade at this rate.
All right, we have a handful. They're making another Call of Duty mobile game. Is that not under King? Probably not, but man, eventually, not long from now.
I think they wanted to get away from the Tencent one, or it's the one. I think the focus
Call
was
of Duty Mobile. Right, it was the Tencent.
Yeah,
one.
And it interacts with and works with Modern Warfare 2 and that whole big package where like you got one account across all these different games type of thing.
All right, let's move on. Got a handful of other stories, quite a few other stories. So let's get moving. Twitch CEO steps down after 16 years following controversy-filled year. This comes from Ethan Gach at Kotaku. Emmett Shear is no longer the boss of Twitch. After 16 long years punctuated by various controversies, the co-founder and only CEO that Amazon-owned streaming platform has ever known announced he's stepping down to spend more time with his family. With my first child just born, I've been reflecting on my future with Twitch. Twitch often feels to me like a child I've been raising as well, and while I will always want to be there if Twitch needs me, at 16 years old, it feels to me Twitch is ready to move out of the house and venture alone. Sheer, who started Twitch with Justin Kahn as Justin.tv back in 2007, will be replaced by current Twitch president Dan Clancy. Dan Clancy arrived at the company as recently as 2019 after long stints at both NASA and Google. Sheer said he'll continue to work with Twitch in an advisory role, but writes that he no longer fears that the platform would die without my, quote, constant guidance and input. Twitch CEO Emmett Shear resigning and locking his post so no one can... Okay, yeah, this is a quote from someone on Twitter who noticed his announcement on Twitter was locked down and said, Twitch CEO Emmett Shear resigning and locking his post so no one can respond is exactly on point with how he acted as the leader of Twitch, completely disconnected from the community and creators. In the quote tweets and comments elsewhere on social media, creators debated Shear's legacy as Twitch faces ongoing criticism that it's disconnected from the needs and desires of streamers and their fans. I remember early on in my career, I was close with the PR guy at Twitch. He was very friendly, very like trying to always make connections between people, and I always appreciated that. But early on, he's like got me in to sit down with him at Shear, and I wasn't necessarily like raring to talk to Emmett Shear or anything like that, but whatever. It's a big important person at this new technology streaming site that I knew was going to be a big thing, but it was like still growing back then. And I sat down with him, and it was like, this guy seems aloof is kind of the nice way of putting it. It just seems like doesn't really care about the presentation that or the vibes he puts off. Not that he was mean to me or anything like that, but that's just the vibe I got. And then since then, it's been like every time Emmett Shear's name comes up, it's almost exclusively like a way that Twitch is fucked up. His face was never out there like leading the charge on here's how we're making things better. It was just like here's how Emmett screwed up again. Now maybe that is because he always rushed to the fire to put it out, and so his face was in the middle of it. But it also just seems like maybe it comes from that aloofness. I don't know. I don't know what his legacy at Twitch is, but when I think about like the legacy of Twitch right now, it is clearly undeniably this massively important cultural institution that also just feels kind of hollow and sad and rough if for the people who make a living on there. It's like it started off like, okay, if you are streaming consistently every day and you make Twitch your whole thing, you can succeed on there. And that was true. And then everyone's like, oh, this is a really good way to burn out and to like destroy your happiness in your life. And what can we do about this? And it's been crickets for 10 years on that question. And so it's like, I think that is kind of going to be Shear's legacy. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, Twitch is always so weird because it feels like the boots on the ground, people like Mary Kish and so many are just great people who really care.
Absolutely.
And they seem like they're constantly in a struggle with the executives who have no idea and or just don't care about the actual the content creators that are the only reason Twitch exists is because these people are putting in 20, 40, 50, 60 hours sometimes a week trying to build their channel, and now there's millions of them, and the support you get. We have a Twitch channel and it's got "the" before it instead of just our site name, so it's like the XboxEra, and we have been trying for a year and a half to get just XboxEra, which is somebody took it a long time ago, has never used it, can't get a word in, like, and we're an affiliate and all these things, and never heard back ever from them. It just so many times I've heard people like, unless you're one of those bigger people or you get lucky and you can ping someone on Twitter, it's really hard to ever get anything from Twitch because they seem understaffed for how massive their workforce is, and they don't treat them like a workforce. They treat them like little buddies who desperately need them, and so they'll just crap on their heads whenever they feel like.
Right. That's what I think the Twitch sort of, this is the vibe I get from Twitch. It's razor thin profit margins if it's making a profit at all. And so that is why they do things like the 50-50 revenue split, which is just incredibly messed up that they did that. And that's like one of the last things that Emmett Shear will have oversaw at his as his reign as CEO of Twitch is before that it was like 70, was it 70-30, was it 60-40 depending on what you were. The
partners, the bigger partners were grandfathered in on I think 70-30 30 and then got knocked down to 50.
Right.
For the biggest ones, it wasn't that big a hit because they already make so much from sponsors and ads, but
Right.
there's so
But
many
and they also have they
Yeah.
often negotiate their own splits and stuff like that. 'Cause they're
Yeah,
so
or
big.
they just get a bunch of friggin' money when they were doing contracts. When YouTube was trying harder and Mixer was around, I miss Mixer. Mixer looked really good. Twitch generally looks like shit.
Yeah.
It is not a good looking stream.
Yeah,
but I
and
get it because
YouTube
there's
has
so
sort
many
of picked
people.
up the side of like, oh, good looking streams.
You can push 9K bitrate on YouTube just by default, and you have to be a top tier partner to push 8K on Twitch.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're 6.
and it's like AV1, the new codec out there. That's like now it's finally it's in the latest graphics cards, so you can encode it, you can decode it. It's a man, that would be really great to be able to send that out to Twitch. Twitch still not. I mean, I get it's a relatively new tech, but it's like this should be the thing you were waiting for and ready to go with as soon as it was ready to go. And it's like Twitch is still not doing AV1.
They don't have the competition to care to spend the money for the hardware upgrades because it does look so much better. You can push like a 4K AV1 and it'll look as good as a 9K at 1080.
Exactly.
It's crazy good tech, but they don't really have any competition. That's why I'm very hopeful YouTube pushes it. YouTube has finally started. They finally started segmenting things. Your videos don't affect your live streams, which don't affect your shorts.
Yes,
and before,
you had to have your own channel for each thing because it would like really screw up your the algorithm.
I made a VOD channel for streaming games because if we streamed on our YouTube channel, it just killed our like live stream podcast performance. It was stupid.
Again, we can't. I don't think you can overstate Twitch's cultural influence. I will occasionally. I have cable through YouTube TV, and I have an ESPN Plus subscription, and that's how I can watch most Red Wings games. I can watch most Red Wings games that way. But occasionally there will be one that's blacked out because they think that like, I'm near enough like to Detroit, like when I'm outside the house. And it's like, oh, you should be able to get it on your local cable. And I'm like, no, I can't. I don't get that channel here. I'm in Cleveland, so I will maybe check out black market streams on the internet from like Stream East or whatever. And every single one of these sites that like illegally streams sports, all of them use a Twitch chat, like which is just it's IRC, but they are not just using random IRC. They're using a Twitch channel's chat and they're integrating it that way. So it has all of the emotes and you can log in with your Twitch thing. And it's like, man, this is really
I have no
weird.
idea what you're talking about as a Bruins fan living in Florida.
Yeah, who would? It's but I'm like, man, Twitch is just like this default thing that people go to for like solutions to their crimes, and all these other things. But that massive cultural like just footprint feels undermined by by Emmett Shear and then by Amazon's overall ownership. But yeah, we'll see what happens next with Twitch. I don't imagine things getting that much better or changing that much. I think they are. Like you said, only going to move if pushed by competition, and that seems very unlikely if Microsoft couldn't do it with Mixer and YouTube can't even do it with YouTube. Well, we'll see. Starfield gets a surprising 18+ rating in Australia. This comes from Jonas Maki at Game Reactor. Even though Bethesda's epic RPG often deals with mature themes, they are rarely very explicit. This made it possible for The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and Fallout 4 to receive 15+ ratings in Australia to make them available to a wider audience. It does, however, seem like the upcoming Starfield will be somewhat of a different story. The game, which will be Bethesda Game Studios' first original franchise in over 25 years, recently got a firm release date after the delay last year and it will premiere in September. This means we're roughly 6 months away from release, and now the video game content rating organizations of the world are starting to get their age ratings for Starfield. First out is Australia's classification board, and it turns out it has got an 18+ rating. While Australia is known to be really tough on games, there are motivations behind this decision, which include moderate impact themes and language, strong impact violence, very mild impact nudity, high impact drug use, and no sex.
Damn. Man. Not even a fade to black and giggling.
Yeah, come on. Give me at least give me low impact sex at least.
We'll have full on porn fan mods and no time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not worried about it. Trust me, I am not worried about it. Get those flaccid erect mods ready to go, everybody. High impact drug use. You said you heard the name of the drug. What's going on in this game?
It's called Aurora. It's a drug manufactured by the Xenofresh Corporation, made from a species of fish found on the aquatic planet home to Neon. Bethesda studio games. There's already a bajillion wikis about this stuff. It's
Oh yeah.
So
I got a dude on
He's
Discord who just every little thing he DMs me, and I'm like, thank you. This is actually really nice, helping me keep up on this stuff. So, I mean, they've had drugs in their other games. Skooma, like there's like plot lines about Skooma. My hope here is that they can get I don't know if like 18 plus rating is something that they want to run away from. Like, oh, we'll change things. I really hope not, because I like the idea of being an outer space drug mule and buying drugs on one planet from like a dealer and then taking it to another planet and selling it for a huge profit. Through space arbitrage, arbitrage. That sounds very exciting to me. Basically like drug wars for my TI-83. Just let me do that. I have no idea if that's going to be possible, but in my head, that's what I'm going to be doing, and that's very exciting to me.
It's man, I cannot wait to see. I love their games. They're so unique in their systems and emergent approach, and giving you space travel and going planet to planet and doing all these things. I'm super curious. Like, they've hinted at the boarding. Like, can you board space pirates and be a cop and take their drugs, then be a dirty cop and turn around and sell their drugs? Like, oh,
I love it. I can't wait. I'm really high hopes for this game still. It's they encouraging.
Have not missed.
Yes.
Their studio hasn't missed out.
Right.
Yeah, the other one, what was it? Austin, that did Fallout 76. They missed at the start, but that's actually a pretty darn good game now. So
new Persona 5 spinoff game has been announced. This comes from Luke Plunkett at Kotaku. We've had Persona 5, we've had Persona 5 Royal, we've had Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, and Persona 5 Strikers. That's a lot of Persona 5, but Sega and Atlus figure we can handle even more because another spinoff has just been announced. This one called Persona Phantom of the Night. As Persona Central has translated, this one, with a shortened name of P5X, is a mobile game being released by Perfect World Games. While it might sound rough, everybody, I'll try to bring up the trailer here. It looks... Yeah, go ahead.
It looks better than any of their games have looked, probably because it's targeting better hardware than they normally do, which has been the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. Exactly.
Like the Persona 5 was PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. So like this is going to be running on modern phones, which is probably more powerful than PlayStation 3 pretty easily now. Bring this trailer. It looks just like a real Persona game, just for mobile. I think clearly they are going for the Genshin Impact style thing, where it's like there's going to be gacha mechanics, but I think it's that's the gacha side. The gameplay side, if you're just going to play it, seems like this is just a full-on Persona. New Persona 5.
Real good looking one.
Yes, and it looks fantastic. I think I'm wondering like if you can add like a Razer key sheet to this and just play it like a real game or whatever. And also at a certain point, I'm like, why just mobile? This maybe put this out on Switch. Why wouldn't you put it on consoles? I mean, sure, it's free to play, and mobile is like the Chinese audience for sure, but put it. Genshin's on PC, Genshin's on PS4. Do the same thing with this, but I don't know. I guess I don't know if that's going to happen or if there's a chance that could happen.
Anything Atlus is just always a head scratcher,
right? Yes, and but I mean, Atlus working with Perfect World Games. You wonder if Perfect World's like, well, of course we're going to do that, but Perfect World's also like, no, we're happy to just to dominate the Chinese audience there, and that's going to be a ton of money for us. So we're good.
I do wonder what the gacha side would be. It would be like your summons or
probably.
But in-fight consumables,
right? But gacha's got to be waifus, right? Like they got to be letting you collect waifus.
Some of those demons you get are they're pretty hot.
People want to fuck the demons. Okay, that's
of course
that's news to me. I've never heard of such a thing.
You are a naive and innocent soul, Jeff.
Thank
I understand.
you. Thank you for saying that about me. I'm only going to be 40 here pretty soon, so maybe
I'm
one
already
day.
40.
Oh man, how is it? How's 40?
I feel the same amount of shitty as I did when I was 39.
Fair enough. Well, listen, I'm hoping for big things for me. All right, I'll let this trailer play out while we move on to this next one. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will not drop live service elements, report says. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has reportedly been delayed, but fans hoping that developer Rocksteady will ditch the game's live service elements should not get their hopes up. Posting on Twitter, reporter Jason Schreier provided some new insights on his previous report about the game's supposed delay. He said Rocksteady hasn't come forward to officially announce the delay, possibly because no new date has been chosen. Schreier said staff were informed weeks ago that Kill the Justice League was shifting to later in 2023, but it remains possible that the game could move to 2024. Amid all the unknowns, I Again, like I said, I heard that. It sounds really probable, possible, but who knows? I really don't know for sure. But that's
Not even them.
Yes, and
They don't even
right,
know.
that's exactly what the answer is. It seems like they don't even know. Amid all the unknowns, Schreier said there's one thing that appears to be clear, and that's how the core game isn't changing. This seemingly pertains to how Kill the Justice League is an online live service game that requires a constant internet connection, even for its single player mode. Now,
Yep.
I think that this all sounds right to me. I was never expecting them to fundamentally change the game. What I heard was 2024 because this is a real delay, but even that never meant like they are going to make this a completely different kind of game. That's still not enough time to do that.
That's a 3 or 4 year delay if you're completely, and they've already gone through multiple reboots and changing and cancels. So
right, I think if you do put it to 2024, you could probably remove the online requirement, and that would be an easy PR win. I don't know if that's really going to change things because it's an easy PR win, and then the people who are mad and aren't going to buy your game are still going to be mad, still won't buy your game. So it's like they have got to be doing the math on this, the arithmetic, and looking at it like we want to delay the game for all these various reasons. People did react poorly. What are the small wins we could make here and there to actually move people back towards being excited about this? For me, I'm at a loss. I don't know what you do. I've said before, just release this game, move on, start working on another Batman. Rocksteady, congratulations.
Yeah, I wonder what does it need a ton of polish? Do they want more content? Do they want, because you think of a half-year delay is the main thing you can really do is polish. You can just try and tighten it up. Maybe if you had a few small ideas, you try and round them out and finish them up. But like even something smaller like Psychonauts 2 ended up getting a pretty sizable delay when they got bought by Microsoft. And they're like, okay, we want to actually have these boss fights now. And that took a long time. So if it goes from June to November, what do you gain with 5 months other than we can just make it run better, have it be the best game it can be, and also get away from all of those major releases, which I think is probably part of the reason too. You're right with Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo 4, Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy 16. Previously, people would have Redfall and Minecraft Legends, which is a thing I don't think a lot of us think about a lot, but Minecraft's huge, and that is a big release. And so that area, those few months, Jedi Survivor, there's so many games, and there's nothing dated for the end of this year yet. We'll have the normal yearly things we all know about, and FIFA or EA Football Club and NBA 2K and all the yearly stuff. But as far as knowing exactly what's coming later in the year, we kind of don't. So
yeah, it's I mean, I think that they're definitely feeling that. I think they are also hoping if they do that delay just to later this year, they can get out of that maelstrom. They can show up at another showcase or do another like re-reveal. Hopefully that the one that goes better, and people sort of like cool down about how they feel about it now, because they'll be so busy playing all those games you just mentioned.
I think they need to just show the actual game and not do that quick cut nonsense that you never get a sense of.
Show a mission. Yeah. Like. Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing is like the people working on this game apparently are very happy with it. I was on the VGC podcast, and Andy was like, yeah, the people internally are like, this is a fun game to play. And so, okay, and they're like, no one thought that about Gotham Knights. No one working on Gotham Knights thought that. They think that about this
Gotham Knights.
Right, but I mean,
I gave it an 8.4. Damn it.
The people working on it were like, listen, we know Jesse's going to be down for this, but we're not so happy. We're not so proud of what we've got here. But with this, they're like, no, when people play it, they have a good time and sort of universally. So
Crackdown's very fun. You crib a lot from that, and you're good to go.
Exactly, and you know, Anthem is kind of fun to play too. And so if you got the rocket mechanics of that, and the jumping around mechanics of Crackdown, all right, cool. What is pushing people away? It is like those menus with a ton of numbers and stuff like that, and you can maybe tone that stuff down.
And it seems like it's pushing us in our bubble away. But when you look at actual games that are really big, people love that number treadmill. Well. They just freaking love it. They love battle passes as long as they're cosmetic and they're not tied to your progression or anything like that. Like I get our bubble and games coverage and the really hardcore, but the less hardcore really like live service games.
The Sims 4 glitch turns infants into horrifying, long-legged monsters. This comes from Kenneth Shepard at Kotaku. Unless you consider watching people get up and go to work every morning to be a horrifying sight, you probably wouldn't classify The Sims 4 as a horror game. I do. That is terrifying to me. Stay home. Just work from home. However, its latest update brings infants to the game for the first time ever, and while they may look cute when you first load up your save file, players have discovered a glitch that turns them into long-legged monsters. The bug is reported to EA's support site, where players say they've been able to replicate the problem by having infants interact with objects around the house, such as a toy or lamp. So while developer Maxis is most likely aware of the issue, several players have shared examples of it in their Sims 4 games to places like Reddit. I think I have some images of it here. Let me bring it up.
Oh, no.
Let's see our long-legged little babies here. It's like right there. Look at that guy. That's a baby, and it's all stretched.
That reminds me of Tall Mario from Mario
Yes,
Maker.
it's Weird Mario, the baby. Oh yeah, that's not great.
Give him a mustache. Oh
yeah, look at that thing. That's no.
They look like human grays, like they belong in a spaceship.
Yes, these are. I'm pretty sure these things
That's
are from Dead Space. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna bring us out of here. I don't know. I thought that's fun. That's a good one. Film critic who loves Tetris movie had never heard of Tetris. This comes from Zach Swisen at Kotaku. I was reading this review this morning, and I was just like, reading the first couple lines. Wait, you never heard of Tetris? And then I found this story. So I'm like, all right, I'll include this. I really make a big deal out of people not knowing about old games, movies, or comics. The world is massive. Everyone has different life experiences, and it's totally okay if people haven't heard of every cool game or movie you love. However, that all goes out the window when I discovered someone hasn't ever heard of Tetris. Because, come on, it's Tetris. Tetris is one of the most popular video games ever made. Since its legendary creation in the 80s, this wonderful puzzle game about stacking and organizing different shaped falling blocks has appeared in some form on nearly every device with a screen. Right now, the device you are reading this on can play Tetris. Go ask your parents about Tetris. They know what it is. Maybe not everyone has played it, sure, but it's hard to believe an adult human being with an internet connection or TV has never heard of the world-famous puzzler. And yet, that's what film critic Pete Hammond claims in his review of the upcoming Tetris film. In a new review on up now on Deadline, film critic Hammond starts off by admitting that not only has he never played Tetris, he didn't know it existed before reviewing the movie. Here's the quote. Full disclosure, sue me, but not only have I never played the iconic 80s video game Tetris, I had never heard of it before encountering this new film Tetris. I realize that probably makes me a bit of an oddity to the gamer generation. Zach goes on here to say, no offense, but that's very strange. But also, don't go bother this guy about this. He's admitting something here. He's not being shitty about it. He's just telling us something. It's all just not. Yeah, we don't have to dunk on him.
Do the Twitter dog pile.
Yes, how did you? This is why I tweet. I'm like, how is this possible? And I meant that sincerely. I just don't know how it's possible that you could go through life and never have heard of Tetris. I guess here's how it could be possible. If I imagine that person is an alternative universe version of Dan Reichert who doesn't care about games, and so therefore he just doesn't or Paul Reichert. There's a chance if Paul Reichert didn't know Dan Reichert, there's a chance that Paul Reichert had never heard of Tetris, right?
Yeah, he would. If it's not baseball related, there's a very good chance he probably hasn't. Baseball or supermarkets.
I'm very excited about this movie though. The review from Pete Hammond, very positive. He loved it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this is like catnip for me, Jesse. These kinds of movies, I love these kinds of stories. I've watched the Gaming Historian video about the Tetris story, which is basically just this story done in an incredible YouTube documentary. Gaming Historian's videos are awesome. I've watched that 3 times in my life. I'll probably watch it 3 more here in the next couple of years, even after seeing this movie. I love these kinds of stories. I love these docudramas that are made with high quality budgets, all trying to look like The Social Network. Well, yeah, let's do it. Give me more of these. So I'm very excited.
I'm pretty sure he reviewed Pixels.
This
kind of weird. Yeah, so it's kind of weird that he wouldn't know. Whatever.
That rules. Actually, that's incredible. That's incredible. It's just got to be a Reichert kind of situation.
Something you learn, but you just never bothered to keep. It just bounced right off.
Right? Yeah. Just
every time.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, so I don't need to know what it is. All right, moving on. Resident Evil's Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield joined the ranks of Fortnite. This comes from Chris Moyes at Destructoid. Epic Games their Juggernaut Battle Royale title, Fortnite, is about to get 100% more swoon factor as Resident Evil cuties Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield are ready to grace the ever-decreasing circle with their own unique brand of firepower and charged sexuality. Man, Chris, settle down, buddy. The iconic duo who made their first appearance in Capcom's legendary survival horror release, Resident Evil 2, are the latest crossover characters to join Fortnite's literal who's who of pop culture stars. RPD officer Leon comes equipped with his trusty assault knife and attaché case as for black back bling, although it is sans his hip jacket, instead looking like his later game combat wear. Redfield, much like Leon, is stylized after her Resident Evil 2 remake design and is wearing her bootcut jeans and scarlet biker jacket combo. Claire is repping the Raccoon City Police Department's mini locked doors with her RPD back bling and is wielding a special pickaxe stylized as a red and white umbrella. Very good. Very cool. Yeah. You still keeping up with Fortnite and all this stuff, or is that not your scene? That's
Nick. I touch Fortnite every now and then. I'm not big on battle royales. I play them, do occasionally them, but the stress is just like, I'm here to relax. So yeah. I actually kind of like Save the World and was sad when that died. But it'll be fun seeing Master Chief and Geralt teaming up with Claire and Leon and all doing the Dougie, I guess. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, sorry for kink shaming you. Chase your bliss. You get those Resident Evil characters and you do whatever you need to do. You ship them as hard as you want. As hard as you need to. Suzuki is working on a range of Virtua Fighter NFTs. This comes from Jordan Midler at VGC. In a collaboration between Suzuki and NFT firm Oisix, a total of 1,000 Virtua Fighter NFTs will be made available. This range of NFTs will include 11 characters from the first 3 Virtua Fighter games into Oisix creative worlds, creating a unique and exciting experience for new and old fans of Virtua Fighter alike, said Oisix. The NFTs will serve as a base for future metaverse avatars, it added, because that's something that means something. Virtua Fighter owner Sega has licensed the IP for the project, but the company itself doesn't appear to be directly involved in it. Why do they keep doing this, Jesse? I just posted something in the text chat for you. PlayStation testing cross-platform NFT system in games. Everyone's in on NFTs. Yep. PlayStation testing. Really late. PlayStation testing cross-platform NFT system in games. Sony Interactive Entertainment has been toying with PlayStation NFTs for a while, but a newly discovered patent reveals that the company has an interesting new framework for NFTs in games, cross-platform transfers and trades. First spotted by Segment Next, the patent describes a system that enables one gamer to find a unique NFT in a game. That asset can then be used across multiple platforms. What's more is that Sony wants NFT owners to have the ability to use the asset in other games too. This NFT patent was filed in 2021, so maybe Sony has cooled off since the heyday, the halcyon days of NFTs when they were on top of the world in 2021. There might have been, maybe they saw what Dr. Disrespect's going for in his game, and they're like, "Oh, we got to get in on that. That seems horrible." Yep, we could make it worse. Let's do it. In Japan, sales of Kirby hold steady at #1, and PS5 continues to just rock and roll. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe sold another 32,000 copies to stay at #1. Its total is now 283,000 physical copies in Japan. Meanwhile, #2, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, still with another 21,000 copies sold. It is quickly approaching 5 million physical copies sold in Japan alone. It's literally at 4.929 million. That is just buck wild. Buck wild. For Kirby? Wow. Yeah, it's pretty. Kirby's just continues to be like this surprising thing where it's like, oh yeah, they keep bringing back Kirby because it keeps selling, keeps doing very well, especially in Japan and North America, things like that. The rest of the top 10 mostly Switch games until you get to the bottom like 4 or so, where you'll see PS4's Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, PS5's Hogwarts Legacy, and the PS5 version of Wulong Fallen Dynasty. The very bottom of the list is the Switch version of Octopath Traveler 2, with just about 8,000 copies sold. That brings its total to 75,000 on the Switch. Not great for Octopath Traveler 2. I think they probably would have been expecting more. To me, it feels like that game just came out, and Square Enix didn't really do much for it. I think they were kind of expecting
what happened with the first game. It sold on the HD 2D, and the HD 2D is just worn off in terms of being this self-propelling marketing factor these days, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been quite a few. I tried Octopath. It didn't hit with me, but I'm not normally into that genre much anyways. I did try it when it was on Game Pass, and then of course this one comes out and isn't even on the platform. So yeah, Square is just weird. Like they put out a really good mix of these styles of games, and then their bigger hitters miss real bad, and they're all in on NFTs. They seem like a company in constant flux and change, and they're unsure of where to go and what to do. And this one, it came out that day, and I was like, oh, I had no idea it was even close. And I try to keep up with everything.
Last thing here, the Resident Evil 4 remake review roundup. You guys said you guys reviewed it over XboxEra. Gave it a 9 out of 10, right?
Yes, yeah. Our guy Mike really enjoyed it. He kept to all their ridiculous embargo stuff, but yes, it's continues their journey of remaking all those early games better and better and better every time.
Giant Bomb reviewed it. We gave it 5 stars. Dan said it sets a new high bar for remakes. Just echoing that. The review's up on the site now. You guys should go read it. We like doing reviews when we're moved to do so. But you know, it's not some like central thing to our business over here. So just you read them and comment and say, yeah, this is nice, because it is a nice review. Dan did a lot of good work on that.
Very good.
GameSpot gave it a 10 out of 10. Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel for a second time, developer Capcom has doubled down on the brilliance of the original design, elaborated on it, and finely tuned the experience. The result is a stunning remake that reminds longtime fans like me of its brilliance, while also introducing an all-new generation to a modern classic and one of the most important games of all time. That's Kurt Indovina over there on GameSpot. IGN's Tristan Ogilvy said, whether you're a fan of the original or a newcomer with a hankering for some action-heavy horror of the highest quality, Resident Evil 4 is like a parasite-riddled Spaniard, a total no-brainer. Wow, that's pretty good stuff. Its comment is friction-free, but no less stress-inducing thanks to its ferocious cast of creatures. Its story rapidly shuttles through a series of action scenes that are diverse in structure, but uniformly unwavering in intensity. And its world is rich in detail and full of fun and often snarling surprises. Yeah, I mean, the VGC 5 out of 5, Game Informer 9.5 out of 10, Games Radar 9 out of 10, Destructoid gave it a 75 out of 100. Meanwhile, Zoe Handley said, back in 2005, I liked Resident Evil 4, but I didn't love it. The remake hasn't changed that. Unlike the Resident Evil 2 remake, which was revolutionary, Resident Evil 4's glow up is more of a faithful recreation rather than an overhaul. It changes just enough that if you love the original, I can't guarantee this will leave you unperturbed. Meanwhile, if you didn't like its first generation, it's not impossible that this will change your mind. The best I could say is that it is an earnest effort at recapturing the magic, and it's worth checking out. It remains, as it always was, maddeningly inconsistent. So there's a variety of takes on that. I am very excited to go play this. I know you're planning to stream it.
Yeah, so the streaming I don't even know if they care. Streaming embargo is right before it comes out, so I've been waiting for that because I figure it'd be a fun thing to do. I liked Resident Evil 4 back in the day, but the tank controls and the Ashley stuff drove me nuts, so I didn't love it.
Sure.
I'm more with Ashley. Fixing those controls, I actually really enjoyed Resident Evil 4 VR because I have a Quest 2, and it's excellent on there. It works really well. And I'm dying. They've already hacked the demo to get VR into the Resident Evil 4 demo on PC. So even though that remake VR is probably going to be stuck to PlayStation 2 officially, you should still be able to do it on PC with hacks because people are great.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm super excited to try this out next week.
All right. I have the poll from yesterday.
Give me your poll.
Absolutely. What would you rather fight? 1 20-foot tall stuffed wrestling buddy, John Cena, or 100 living action figure John Cena's? 45.8% said they'd rather take on the soft giant John Cena. That's 20 feet tall. 54.2% said 106-inch Cena toys. Excuse me. That's the one that won. People would rather kick a bunch of little toys than the 20-foot soft Cena buddy. I'm a little surprised by that, but I think it's probably right. I think that, I don't know, man.
If their strength is relative to their size,
yes.
But if they're little steroid boys and they can do enough damage, 100 of them at once is going to be real tough. you're gonna get tired after like stomping 15.
No, I think you're right, but I also think the chances of you dying is much greater with the 20-foot soft Cena buddy, because it's going to be way heavier than you think. You think, oh, I'm going to go be able to push it over, and it's going to rock back, and it's going to fall on top of you, and it's going to suffocate you. And I think that's a real likely scenario. Whereas, yeah,
what if I carry a little pocket knife and I can just reach in and go, and then I just can breathe in the cotton?
Well, you're smart. Then you're a smarter man than me. That's what that means.
Is he? What is he stuffed with? I think that really matters.
It's just the normal like stuffed animal stuff, but
you can breathe through that.
Just think about like a giant beanbag sort of thing. Like I've got like one of those big beanbags, and that thing is heavy. It's like 50 pounds and awkward and stuff, and it's just like that's 6 feet long. So it's
is this where you make the joke that they're both impossible because we can't see them? Then we all laugh.
I think that's right. I think that's the right way to get us out of this. Jesse, I'm gonna start another poll here in a second, but while I'm doing that, why don't you tell people where they could find you, where they can hang out with you, where they can find your polls, all that stuff?
Well, I am from XboxEra, and even though it's got a company name in the site, we try not to be a bunch of fanboys. It's focused on the Xbox platform because we felt there was a little bit of a gap in coverage for it, but we like everything, and we try to talk about everything. It's xboxera.com. We're XboxEra on Twitter. We're the XboxEra on Twitch because they don't give a shit. But yeah, xboxera.com has all our stuff, has all our links, and you can find me there doing 30 reviews a month normally.
Yes, you do a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
Keeps you busy.
Finally got a contact with Blizzard. Oh, that felt good. That was the last one.
Yeah, it's always frustrating when it's like after years of doing stuff when it's like, man, I still don't know how to get a hold of this one company. My last one was Valve, and it was, but by the end there, they would very frequently answer my emails, and a lot of other people are like, no, they never respond to me. I'm like, huh? I don't know.
They just think I'm cool. They all use different PR companies you never heard of, and then you look it up, and they're like, we're $100 million company. You're like, oh, okay, Jesus Christ.
All right, let me post this. This is are Twitch's best days behind it? Yes or no? Kind of just want to take the temperature on this, see what people are thinking. In the meantime, though, real quick, I did this with my buddy Mike Minotti on our Game Must Decides podcast yesterday. We drafted a couple of consoles, and I'm just gonna read them here real quick. But if someone wants to run a poll in chat, I can do that if no mod can get to it. But console A versus console B, I kind of want to see what the Giant Bomb audience thinks. Console A, these are all games we drafted from the Xbox, PlayStation 2, GameCube generation, Dreamcast.
One hell of a generation.
Yes. A lot of games to choose from. It was actually more difficult because it was so there were so many to choose from. Console A is Super Smash Bros. Melee, Halo 2, Final Fantasy X, Metal Gear Solid 3, Resident Evil 4, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Soul Calibur 2 for the GameCube, Jak and Daxter, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Sly Cooper, The Thievius Raccoonus, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Kingdom Hearts 2. Console B is The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Metroid Prime, Mario Kart Double Dash, God of War 2, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Kingdom Hearts, Shadow of the Colossus, Silent Hill 2, Persona 4, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. All right, the poll is live. Jesse, which one are you choosing?
Man, that's hard. If it had been I wasn't huge on Halo multiplayer ever, and I actually like Halo's first CE more than one for the campaign. So I probably would end up going B because I love KOTOR, Third Strike, and Shadow of the Colossus so much. And Metroid Prime. I really enjoy that game. God of War 2. Jesus, yeah.
Poll is over, and Console A got 27 votes. Console B got 42 votes. That's another W for the big guy. Yeah. Come at me. So Mike won in our Discord last night and in our chat on YouTube. But on Twitch or on Twitter right now, this is up still, and you can see the results. 53.2%. This has been growing. At first, he had a big lead when it was like 400 people had voted, but now that 6,000 people have voted, I'm up pretty big, 53.2% to 46.8%. So it's a really fun discussion. If you guys want to listen to us draft that stuff, you can listen to it on there. But thank you everybody for your input. Thank you once again for choosing the right person. I've won so now it's 2-2 for this one. So I'm really going to try to destroy him. He got very upset last time when he lost. All right, we need to wrap up the show. Jesse, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games. You know I love it, man.
It is always super fun to get to hang out with you, and I look forward to the next time.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. We will have UPF later. We'll be recording some other stuff. We got a ton of quick looks going up next week. Thanks for hanging out on Giant Bomb. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.